Hello BTS lovers, Jakook is no longer just a rumor. That's the sentence that shook social media this week. From interactions that are too synchronized, gestures filled with meaning, to expressions that can't be faked, Jimin and Jungkook are once again at the center of public attention. Fans are left wondering, can their relationship still be called just friends? Or are we all witnessing something far bigger and more honest than what has ever been shown by two global figures like BTS? What makes all of this even more striking is the way they appear, not just in front of the camera, but also in moments that seem unscripted for public consumption. In a world where every celebrity action can become a headline, the small moments between Jimin and Jungkook seem more authentic, more real, and increasingly harder to ignore. Pop culture observers have started to ask, are we witnessing the birth of a new form of emotional honesty in the Korean entertainment industry? One of the most striking recent moments came from an unexpected stage, a military training ground. When Jimin came as a guest at a closed military event, amateur cameras captured their emotionally stirring interaction. Jungkook, in uniform, was seen looking at Jimin with a gaze that can't be defined as formal. Meanwhile, Jimin, usually calm and professional in public settings, smiled with an expression that only appears when someone meets a person they truly missed. The video lasted only a few seconds, but its effect resonated for weeks. The Jikook phenomenon is actually not new. Since debut, they've been the most analyzed pairing by fans. However, in the past 2 years, there's been a shift in their dynamics. Their past interactions could be seen as normal between groupmates, but now the intensity has grown, from casually mentioning each other in live streams to sharing similar music tastes, locations, even increasingly aligned lifestyles. What makes it even more dramatic is the lack of clear denial. Jikook doesn't deny, but they also don't confirm anything. In an unofficial interview, a staff member at the training base mentioned that when Jimin arrived, the atmosphere between them changed completely. It felt like the room belonged only to the two of them, said the staff, who asked to remain anonymous. It wasn't just physical closeness, but a kind of unspoken communication that's unusual. This statement went viral instantly and reignited discussions in international forums. Some netizens even called it a silent confirmation. What's interesting is, this isn't just about a ship or fan imagination. There's a consistent pattern that can be traced. Every time they interact, there are emotional signs deeper than ordinary relationships. When Jimin held a late-night live stream and sang Still With You, a song Jungkook wrote for fans, the emotional atmosphere was overwhelming. He sang it in a soft, almost trembling voice, as if conveying a message he couldn't say out loud. At the end of the song, he looked at the camera and said, "I'm always here for the people who matter most." No names were mentioned, but fans instantly knew who the words were meant for. Their relationship is also reflected in the small details that most people would miss. Identical bracelets, shared playlists, even how they organize personal schedules. One report from a former BTS choreographer mentioned that when Jimin and Jungkook practice together, they focus more on aligning with each other than on individual performance. They're like two sides of the same mirror, he said. If one steps to the left, the other already knows to step right. They read each other's moves, even energy. Fans' responses are divided. Some believe this is a form of deep friendship, while others see something more. But one thing is undeniable, Jikook isn't an empty phenomenon. They represent something greater, perhaps a form of love that still doesn't have a name in a world that demands binaries and certainty. The agency remains silent. This could be strategy, or perhaps a form of respect for the artist's privacy. But their silence also fuels the space for speculation. Amid the roar of public opinion, uncertainty becomes the main fuel for interest in Jikook. Many observers argue that if their relationship truly surpasses friendship, then the way they maintain it is a quiet resistance against rigid industry norms. This phenomenon reflects how the face of the K-pop industry has changed. If in the past idols had to appear perfect and maintain a sterile image for contracts and reputation, now there's space, however small, to express emotional depth. Jakook, with all its mystery, could be the symbol of this cultural shift. They don't need to explain anything because the public has begun to read body language, subtle codes, and emotional honesty that can't be faked. Social media continues to be the main arena for Jakook supporters. Hundreds of thousands of fan comments show one thing: people today are more open to accepting any form of relationship as long as it's sincere and harms no one. One viral comment read, "We don't need a confession. We just want you to be happy, together or not." Even though there's been no official confirmation, the public continues to follow their developments. This relationship, whatever its form, has inspired many to believe that emotional honesty can still survive under the spotlight of the entertainment world. The big question now is, will Jimin and Jungkook continue to keep this an open secret? Or one day, will everything be revealed slowly, not because of pressure, but because of the courage to be themselves? One thing's for sure, Jikook isn't just pure speculation. They are a living narrative, evolving and constantly stirring curiosity. In a world full of facades, they appear as a beautiful anomaly and maybe a reality that can no longer be hidden. However, amid the euphoria and heated speculation, it is important for us to step back from the emotional current and view the Jakook phenomenon more sharply and critically. Are we witnessing a form of authentic intimacy between two individuals who respect and care for each other? Or is this all just a series of moments intentionally brought up, or even staged, to maintain fan engagement and global media attention? This question matters because in the entertainment world, especially the highly structured and controlled K-pop industry, nothing truly happens by accident. Is it possible that the intense interactions between Jimin and Jungkook are part of a clever emotional marketing strategy? Is this a new form of manipulated fan engagement aimed at creating a dramatic and touching sense of closeness? If so, how aware are we as information consumers that we are being steered? Most of the sources behind the Jakook narrative come from social media platforms such as TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Edited video clips, specific camera angles, facial expressions frozen in a frame, all of them can lead to highly subjective interpretations. Are we really witnessing genuine emotional moments? Or are we merely seeing what we want to see because it's presented in a perception-shaping format? One of the biggest challenges in understanding the Jakook relationship is the boundary between reality and interpretation. When fans observe Jimin looking at Jungkook with a soft expression, the question is not only whether the look is real, but whether its meaning is as we think. Are we projecting our own hopes and desires into that moment? Or are we indeed witnessing something that does not need to be confirmed in words? Undeniably, BTS's global fandom, ARMY, is a powerful force capable of shaping narratives, creating trends, and even influencing public opinion on an international scale. But does this power also create a collective cognitive bias? Are we unconsciously forming a shared reality not always based on facts, but more on an emotional need to believe in something that touches our hearts? On the other hand, it is also important not to hastily accuse every form of interaction of being engineered. Why are we so quick to dismiss the possibility that two men can have a deep emotional closeness without it being judged as a marketing tactic? Is our culture still unready to accept emotional intimacy between men as something normal and natural? If Jakook is indeed just a friendship, then why is it so hard for us to accept it as a pure form of companionship? And if it is more than that, why do we demand confirmation about something that should belong to the private realm? We realize that many of you reading this have watched viral videos, analyzed body language, and followed the growing theories in various online communities.